Howdy guys, Dr. Nathan Burrow back again. So today we're going to go ahead and jump into the first topic that I was speaking about last time, how I'm going to do a set of, still haven't quite figured out the number yet, but we're going to see how it ends up. Several videos that basically are just going to go ahead and give a general broad explanation and a basis for a lot of the stuff we're going to go into later. And of course later we'll go into a lot of the sciaticas and all the fun stuff that we treat and everything. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and all that. I realize that and we all have a good background on not only like the definition of what I'm saying, but what exactly I'm talking about, you know what I mean? So that at least you have something to go back to. With all that said, I realized while I was filming a lot of these, or at least the first couple, I do start leaving some things a little bit open-ended at the end. I'm not meaning to, but that's just kind of the way I'm doing it. The big reason why is I'm not trying to make like a 45-minute lecture video type thing. I'm more trying to just do little broad topics, and as I go through them, they'll probably start tying together and tying themselves up, and at least that's what I'm planning on having happen. And then at the end, I'll probably do a little summary video where I'll kind of comprise all my thoughts together a little bit. So if I leave it open-ended, I apologize. Hopefully towards the end, it makes a little bit more sense. But anyway, we'll see. So anyway, today we're going to go ahead and jump into the first topic, and we're going to be speaking about what disease is, okay? So disease is obviously the one thing that we're all going to be going to any sort of medical professional for, right? Whether it's we're not feeling right, we're in pain, just something's off, whatever it happens to be. There's something wrong with ourselves, with our body. We're low on energy, whatever it is, and we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we're seeking help from the medical professional because obviously they're going to be the experts as far as the body goes, okay? So with that said, what is a disease? Like, let's just break that down to start. And if you go ahead and do a Google search for it, which what I did just to find the very basic definition, what first thing that ended up popping up for me was it's defined as an abnormal condition inside of an organism that is causing functional or structural issues, okay? I think the exact wording was an abnormal condition causing functional or structural issues inside an organism, but you get it. It's the same general thing, okay? So a couple things to unpack on that statement, right? So if that's the case, then you have something abnormal inside of the organism, which is us, and that's causing the functional or structural issues, which is going to be the symptomatology, okay? So that means that you have a cause, as is the abnormal condition, and it's causing the effect that is the symptomatology. So if I start saying that way, that's where my mind is at. So anyway, with all that said, there's a lot of different effects that have very similar causes, right? So there's a lot of abnormal conditions that have very similar symptoms. There's a lot of very abnormal conditions that cause vastly different symptoms, right? Where not everybody's quite the same or presents the exact same. And the reason why is because we're unique beings. We have different ways of actually dealing through this stuff, and we all respond a little bit different, okay? And that's why in medicine and just all healthcare, with diseases especially, there's a lot of gray area, right? There's some things that are very cut and dry. You can do a diagnostic study and it's like, all right, you got that, right? But there's a lot of other things that are very much not like that, okay, where they're very complex. Most of those tend to be more chronic conditions more than acute stuff, which is another video we're going to get into later. But there's a lot of gray there, okay? So COVID-19 was a great example as far as the sick stuff goes, where there was one virus that was causing vastly different symptoms in many people, where some people weren't having any symptoms at all. Some had mild coughs, nothing else. Some felt like they had allergies. Others had a little fever. Others literally lost all sensation of taste and smell and still don't have it. Others were hospitalized for a while. Like it was very drastically different with the way it presented, right? But that was the exact same abnormal condition, okay? Same thing when you're talking about stuff that we see in this office, right? So I can have the symptomatology of somebody's having a little bit of numbness going down the arm or a little tingling or something like that, right? There's a lot of things that can be the cause of that, okay? And I always have an analogy I go with for that, but I'll get into that later. But if you're talking about that numbness, that can be anything from a trigger point in the rotator cuff that's kind of causing that, and that's the way they're perceiving it. It can be the fact that you got a lateral canal stenosis coming out of the spine, and that's pressing it, or a disc injury up there, right? And that's hitting a certain nerve root that's going down. You can have a plexus injury because the scapulothoracic area is so darn tight, or maybe you have a TOS type syndrome. But You get my point. There's a lot of different stuff that can cause that, right? It could just be straight up vascular issues, or maybe there's a weird blood clot or something and that's causing the tingle, or it's neurological, which is when we're getting into the realm of, okay, we're sending you somewhere else because what I'm doing is not helping. But that's again, that's later for on. But you get my point. This stuff is not cut and dry. It's very, very gray a lot of times, okay? So let's back up one more time. So if you have that abnormal condition that's causing these symptoms, right? What caused the abnormal condition to start with, okay? Because we obviously know it's going to cause the symptoms. And if the symptoms keep going, a lot of times they're going to keep escalating. Because like I was saying with the shoulder stuff, if you have a chronic thing that's causing a lot of this, it's going to start working its way down due to compensation. But also, if we're not addressing it, it's going to get worse, okay? So one good way to explain what causes the abnormal stuff is, let's just talk about a real life, like generic type example that I feel like a lot of people understand. Okay, so if we're talking about like a roof, right? So you got a ceiling tile up here and you look up and it's like, oh, there's a little bit of a wet spot. That's not good. What caused that, right? There's not supposed to be any water up there. Well, more than likely, it's probably obviously a roof leak, right? Well, the abnormal condition would be that roof leak, okay? It's causing symptomatology of you having a wet spot, right? That's now the structural issue or the functional issue, however you want to look at it. If it goes untreated too long, it's probably going to escalate up top where that abnormal condition is and cave in, but also that ceiling's going to start caving in here, and then you're ended up in a whole mess of problems where this whole thing's a mess. You're going to have water everywhere, all that stuff. But on top of that too, you're going to end up with mold and a bunch of other things, okay? Now, there's going to be a discussion later that we have about how would you approach fixing that? Would you just fix the ceiling tile, or would you fix the roof? But we'll talk about that also in another video. But anyway, you have this abnormal condition that is the roof leak, right? So what we're going to do is get up there, patch it, get everything fixed. Now, what caused the roof leak though, right? It didn't just occur overnight, okay? It was probably either hail damage, or maybe the roof's just gotten really old and it's got wear and tear on it, or who knows? There's a bunch of different stuff that can cause it, but that's my point. There's different things that'll lead to these abnormal conditions, right? And if we can stay ahead of them, maintain them, and try to prevent those states from being able to occur, you can stop the abnormal condition from happening just altogether, okay? But they're really tricky to do because there's a lot of different mechanisms for this stuff to happen. Whether it's we're compromised as far as immune system goes from just poor nutrition, whether it's that we're fighting off a sickness, whether we're just really stressed and tired, not hydrated, whatever it is, that starts leading to it. Whether you're talking about stresses on the body from just daily activities, whether it be work related, the way you drive, the way you hold your posture forward, whatever it happens to be, a lot of our daily life compounds on itself, and it leads to this, just like how the wear and tear on that roof led to the roof leak, right? So if we can stop those causes of that abnormal condition, then we can stop the cause of the abnormal condition causing the effects of the symptoms, right? So there's a weird chain in this that if we can just get to the source, we can prevent it. But it's really tricky to do that, right? But in a sense, that's what a disease is, okay? So you have an abnormal condition inside that organism, and it's causing a functional or a structural issue, which of course is going to be the symptomatology, and that can escalate to stuff, but also you have a track leading up to it. So I hope that makes sense. I'm again going to be branching into this similar topic a lot because of course everything we treat is disease based. So with that said, I hope y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.